Do I start the video? Do I need to do the video? Is that necessary?
Not really, Pro, but it's completely up to you. It's there have been people who have not had their video on.
I wish there was something that people could type in whether they wanted to see the video or not. Yeah, let's not do the vid. All right, we'll do the video. I'm not looking. Yes, video. All right. And depending on Krishna here. I just came from Harinam. Haribo, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Everybody's arms in the air like we just don't care. Haribo, Haribo. Is everybody there? Can I see everybody like type in that they're there, that I'm being heard? I have to imagine that I actually have people here. Anyways, I'm going to imagine. Haribo. You know, if everybody could turn off their mute, I wouldn't mind it because I would like to ask questions. That would be nice. But you don't have to. You don't have to. Anyways, Avanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevascha Patitanam Pavanabayo Vaishnave Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Pashchitate Jatane Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. As you can see, I'm in my Hare Krishna. As you can see, Haribo, Haribo. Let me hear you. Haribo. Anybody?
Haribol, Prabhuji.
Haribol.
Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Now, can you hear me okay? I have the air conditioning on because it's like an oven in here. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Everything's fine? Okay, great. All right, so this is sort of, I was asked yesterday to do this, and then of course I've got my busy life with animals, including myself, and of course I had Harinam today, and so I had to wing it at the last moment. But one of the things, and this will be the crux of this class, whose title was "What is Love?" Now, in Krishna consciousness Krishna consciousness, the semantics of Krishna consciousness, we don't say love a lot. We reserve that to the saints, for the songs of the saints, for the pure devotees, for Radharani and the gopis and the gopas. We never say, I love Krishna. And we certainly don't expound upon how much we love each other, even though we should. But that's to be addressed later on in the lecture. But let me just read from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:14-44. Feeling empty for all time. This is I can't remember who's talking to Arjun here, but feeling empty for all time because you might have lost your most intimate friend, Lord Krishna. It's one of the Pandavas. Oh, my brother Arjun, I can think of no other reason for your becoming so dejected. Or is that you are feeling empty for all time because you might have lost your most intimate friend? I'm repeating myself. So Prabhupada answers this in a lecture. So Krishna, let me turn this down because I can't even hear myself. Yeah. So Krishna giving class in a car. Krishna was the intimate friend of Arjun, not only to Arjun, but all the Pandavas, so they cannot tolerate separation from Krishna. This is the sign of a Krishna devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that I have no love for Krishna. Na prema gandhoshti, I'm not sure what the rest of it is. The English is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear friends, this is Sri Chaitanya. This is why we don't expound outwardly, and we try to just show our attachment for devotional service, even though devotion, by the very nature of the definition of the word, means love. So it's service that we do in love. And we do it without motivation, because if we were motivated and if we were interrupted, deviated, then obviously that would be a sign that we were distracted by something that we felt was more important. And of course, if we were motivated, then Ketava Dharma, that's business. And we're all aware of that. But we do find ourselves often, when facing trauma or loss, oh, Krishna, please. And that's natural. Even Arjuna did that with Abhimanyu on the battlefield. And to a certain extent, the gopis, it wasn't Kaitava Dharma, but it was, they wanted reciprocation from Krishna. They didn't want him to leave them. They wanted him to throw his glance at them. They wanted him to, so we are allowed to beg of Krishna, a reciprocation from him. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my friends, I have not the slightest tinge of love of Godhead in my heart. When you see me crying in separation, because they asked him, how can you say that? How can you say that, Lord Gaur Sundar? We see you crying all the time. We see your ecstatic symptoms. And he said, I'm just falsely exhibiting a demonstration of my great fortune. So even Lord Chaitanya was loath to externalize, but of course, as we all know, he had no control over that. And as most pure devotees, they do try to hide, but sometimes you can see it, and you especially see it in all devotees, in their actions, in the humility, in their steadiness, in their generosity. You see these signs of love. For no reason whatsoever, a devotee goes out of their way to serve Krishna in some way. Lord Chaitanya went on, indeed, not seeing the beautiful face of Krishna playing his flute, I continue to live my life like an insect without purpose. So you have no love for Krishna. You are always crying for Krishna, and still you say you have no love for Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I'm just crying to make a show. Actually, I'm not even a devotee of Krishna. Because if I was a devotee of Krishna, how could I live without him? I have not died still. That means I have no love for Krishna. This is the sign of love, that a lover cannot live for a moment without being associated with the beloved. This is the sign of love. In the material world and in romance between a conditioned soul and another conditioned soul, we have the reflection, and that is most manifest in the movies that you see, or even in theater or in great works of art. Let's say Romeo and Juliet, where these two young lovers, they took poison when they thought they lost the other. So Lord Chaitanya, so that is simply a reflection. We see that doesn't go on. What happens is two young lovers grow bored with each other after a while, and then the next thing you know, they're trying to poison each other. But in the ideal sense, one of the signs of love, Lord Jesus said, is that we are willing to give our lives for another. We are willing to give our lives. And we can see that obviously with the gopis. We can even see that with Kubja, that she had oil for Kamsa. She knew that if she used that oil on Krishna, that if she gave Krishna that oil, that sandalwood oil, and Kamsa found out, that she would have been killed. It would have been immediate. The gopis knew that when they ran from their village at midnight, that for all practical purposes, they would be outcasts. But Krishna protected. Krishna. So, but what I'm saying is that we have to be willing to abandon everything, every love in this material world. It doesn't mean that we abandon our families or abandon our jobs or our responsibilities, but that our heart is not there. Lord Chaitanya told Rupa Goswami, I believe it was Rupa Goswami, I could be wrong, to simply be like a wife who has a paramour when he couldn't be with Lord Chaitanya, and that is to do his service, but to always think of Lord Chaitanya, to always think of Krishna while we do our duty. That we put our heart and soul, we put our heart and soul behind our sadhana in the morning, our chanting of Krishna's names. We pray that Krishna reveals himself to us throughout the day, but we still go about our duty as we needs must, especially those of us who have our families. So Srila Prabhupada said that in the beginning, we worship Krishna, Radha Krishna, on the level of Lakshmi and Narayan, like awe and reverence. In the Bible, it says the first knowledge of God is fear of God, and that is to obey. And any good child knows of an adult that awe and reverence for the Father. Krishna is everyone's father. Gaur Prasad just reminded me of that. We don't hear that much. We always hear about Krishna being an intimate friend or an intimate lover. But first and foremost, we have to understand that if we disobey, then we'll have hell to pay. But first we begin in awe and reverence. As Prabhupada said, we worship on the level of Lakshmi Narayan, and we very strictly follow the rules and regulations. But in Vrindavan, Radha Krishna, they do not even worship Krishna because he is God. Prabhupada said they don't even worship in Vrindavan. It is simply love. Prabhupada says it is simply love, just like loving your lover. It does not mean worship. It is spontaneous heart's business. So the question is, we're being told that the most important thing is that we develop love of Krishna, love of God. This is the prayojana, the process, avideya, sambandhu, our relationship. This is what we're doing now. But ultimately, we actually have to begin to feel some spontaneous love. So how do we cope with this? Don't allow ourselves to try to venture into that sentiment, because even Lord Chaitanya expressed outwardly, that even I don't feel love for Krishna. So therefore, that way, and then sometimes we can internalize this and use that as an excuse to not give over our hearts to Krishna. We tend to sometimes just give over our hearts to our service. And then when our service is interrupted or taken away from us, that we're not in love with just giving to Krishna, we're in love with our service. And Krishna does test us on this. It happens to all of us. We'll have some service that we grow attached to, and Krishna will pull it away to see, are you in love with this, with the service, or are you in love with me? And so this is a gradual step-by-step process. Krishna says, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of my pure devotee. My pure devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. As the devotee always thinks of Krishna, similarly, Krishna always thinks of the devotee. Prabhupada says he thinks of more. That is the reciprocation. Prabhupada said that if a devotee thinks of Krishna 24 hours a day, and now I'm going to ask a question. If the devotee thinks of Krishna 24 hours a day, how often does Krishna think of the devotee? I need to hear an answer from somebody. If a devotee's
26
thinking,
hours.
yes, somebody
About
heard. Haribo, Haribo, points, gold star. Yeah, 26. That's actually possible. It's actually possible because Krishna's time. This is very important. Time I am. Not just destroyer of worlds, but maker of worlds. Time is a construct. Time is part of material nature. Krishna can do whatever he wants with time. He can distort time. I know that you all, as devotees, greater devotees than I am, and I'm not just being humble bumble here. I see all the names here, book distributors, just humble, people who grew up in Krishna consciousness, people who always knew of Krishna, people who never turned their attention away from Prabhupada or his teachings. So you all know that when you're involved in great service, that the time, it never becomes, you never become harried, you never become tired. And you know that if you give of yourself, now what can we give to Krishna? What really can we give? Can we give him gold? Can we give him money? We can give these things, but he wants none of it. He wants you. He wants our heart. And so we get in this conundrum, this dichotomy. We're not allowed to love, because if I think that I love, then who do I think that I am, that I love Krishna? He's given me my very breath, the trees that grow. He designed all the beauty in this world. There's the whole wonder when one considers the alternative called nothing, and then you have this that operates outside. Even our body we didn't construct. This is all Krishna. He has given us this theater, and if we just pay attention to that awe and reverence, after a while, when we start to give to Krishna, when we start to worship him, and he starts to respond, he starts to reciprocate, then we realize that this is a personal affair. This is a matter of intimacy. This is a matter of love. That's what love is. And we start to give of ourselves. It is not that we die for Krishna, that we're willing to give our life as in dying. That is an easy way out. But that we give our life, that we start handing over what we really loved. That when we wake in the morning, and we will know this, it'll become apparent to us by what thoughts pop in our head in the morning. I run my own business. It is an extremely anxiety-provoking business. And it took COVID and the loss of everything for me to understand that no matter how much I did externally, chanting heavy duty, showing up to temple, that I was extremely, extremely attached. That the first thing on my mind, that what bothered me throughout the day was what I did to support myself, and not whether I was thinking of Krishna or looking for Krishna in every step I took, and trying to hear Krishna in every sound of a bird chirping, in every kirtan, in every conversation, in the eyes of not only my animals, my pets, and my wife, and which is the hardest thing of all, those closest to us, we always got to remember, it's so easy to love the deity. The deity is passive. At first, Krishna just says, here I am, look at me, aren't I beautiful? Radharani is here, take the love, take the love. But we have to find Krishna in the eyes of our close ones, even when they're coming at us, when they provoke us. Prabhupada said, the sign of real love is we're not provoked. The sign of a pure, when you become purified, you're not provoked by anything. And if anybody can provoke you, it's somebody who is close to you. In fact, they've got the keys to the buttons that they can press. This is your barometer to find out whether you are disturbed. Now, why are we not disturbed? Because we are becoming in love with something. We are becoming aware of this great treasure that we have in Krishna consciousness. Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita 4:11, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajami aham. As you approach Krishna. So what can we give Krishna? Like I said, we can try to give Krishna these things, but most important show is to give Krishna our time, the best time of our day. And that's why it's so important to go to bed early and wake up early and give Krishna your first and best thoughts. All my lectures revolve around this because it's the easiest, quickest way to endear Krishna to you is to say, Krishna, you're first. I may get hung up in the mode of passion in the afternoon when everything takes over, work and family and responsibilities. At night, I'm so tired. I should get done my rounds. Falling asleep. You got to get done your rounds, which is an insult to Krishna. But if you get up first in the morning, you go to bed early, no TV at night, you go to bed at 9, you wake up at 3, 4 o'clock, and you do that, Krishna has promised, as you approach me, I will reward you. And there's no excuses. There's none. You can do it. If you go to bed at 9 o'clock, if there's somehow you can do that and get your 6 hours of sleep, if you don't eat at night, you can do it. You can wake up. It's the key. It's the answer. This is why Prabhupada made it a necessity that devotees had morning program. Why? Mostly to develop the habit of waking when nothing else will divert your attention to him, to Krishna. And when you can do this when you're alone, that's the important part, because that's between you and Krishna, which is ultimately what all relationships are about. So we have that love there within our heart. I wish I could quote some Sanskrit. I do always remember the English. But it's dormant. Prem is dormant within our heart. We actually have a storehouse of pure love in our heart. We are actually all pure, way down deep. And ahankara, and the mind, especially the mind. That's why we chant. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, of all sacrifices we can make, of all things that we can make sacred, I am the chanting of the holy name, japa. So if we can make those hours sacred, chanting Krishna's names, putting Krishna's names first, even if you can't do 2.5 hours, 3 hours, promise that you do. If you're just beginning, which I don't think anybody on that list is just beginning, but if you can only do an hour, do it straight on. And if you don't feel like you can do it, you realize as much as it hurts, that's how much Krishna's paying attention. As much as you wrestle your mind, we always say we're not this body, we're not this body. That's an easy one. Anybody who does yoga, hatha yoga, or anybody who has ever been an athlete. In fact, if you just get up in the morning and the body wants to sleep, and you say, I got to get up, you just prove to yourself you're not your body, because your body wants to do something else. And you just told your machine, yantra, that it has to do something else. So you just prove to yourself you're not your body. But here's the thing. You're also not your mind. This is most important. You're not your mind. So when your mind goes somewhere else, Arjuna said it's like controlling the wind. But Krishna promised that if you practice, you can overcome the mind. It's just like exercise. At first, through, you feel weak or something like that, and you got to, build your bones, build your muscles. You start with a light weight and you do it. And it's really an awful thing to do, because it's nothing but pain, but no pain, no gain. And then the next thing you know, you're doing a heavier weight and a heavier weight, just like chanting. And it's unfortunate that we have to approach Krishna, beautiful Krishna and Radharani, their names, as if it was an exercise, but that's how you begin. And then you see results, you get stronger. You become more and more attracted to the holy name. You start realizing that Krishna is a person, and then you start realizing that Krishna is in his name. And then you realize that Krishna's right there in your heart, listening to how sincere you are. And you give him that time, no matter what you have to do, even if the bus is leaving. I promise you, because Krishna promises you, because he's in control of time, he will make your day work out just fine. That's what we have to have, is that faith and trust. That if you give your best, your first fruit, 10%, tithing, Christians call it, tithing, 10% of your day, 24 hours in a day, 2.4 hours, you give that to Krishna first thing, first fruits. It won't be long before Krishna answers all your questions. It's as spontaneous, as Prabhupada said, it's the heart's business. This is love. To get to here, you have to be willing to take the risk to fall in love. And that means, number 2, not just the time, but to deal with whatever Krishna brings your way. It's not going to be pleasurable. Somebody asked, once again, I can't remember the exact pastime, but they asked, why are all Shiva's devotees rich and all Krishna's devotees are poor? Hari, one who takes. And that's because Krishna wants absolute love. He wants pure love. And nothing gets in the way of pure love. Nothing makes a devotee more complacent than what he gets, what he wants. When all facility is given to him and everything goes just smoothly. Maya's got you by the nose ring. Maya's got you by a golden nose ring. As soon as everything's going smoothly, just look down the list of every great saint. Look down the list of every great saint in every religion, not only ours. We got to face the fire. There's fire. To purify gold requires fire. It requires heat. And you have to be willing to accept that. You have to be willing to pray for that. Queen Kunti prayed, let the calamities come again and again. Can you imagine waking up and saying, Krishna, give me whatever. Just take over. Do whatever you want. And then when that stuff comes, you actually don't get anxious. You try to think of Krishna. At every moment, you think of Krishna during this time. That's how you see Krishna at every step, because you don't just see Krishna in a wonderful kirtan. You don't just see Krishna in the beautiful deity who's standing there waiting for you. Okay? You see Krishna in the loss of your business. You see Krishna in the death of something dear to you. You see Krishna in the hell that this world sometimes shows itself to be. It's a flashing dream. We're not supposed to grab on and hold on to this dream. We should never fear. Fearing Krishna is an aparad. Not fearing Krishna. Fear is an aparad to Krishna. Fear means you don't trust Krishna. If you fear something's going to happen, oh my God, I'm going to get the. It doesn't mean one does. In Christ said, Christ said, when somebody says, when Satan tested Christ and said, if God's going to protect you, then throw yourself off this cliff and God will catch you. And Christ said, thou shalt not test the Lord thy God. So you don't put God to the test. Okay? If there is a God, strike me dead. Oh, look, he didn't. There is no God. Krishna does not deal on that trivial platform. So we don't put Krishna to the test. I don't care about protecting myself. We do the best we can, but we don't ever fear. Anxiety means that we're not thinking of Krishna. If you're feeling anxious, that is a covering over that natural love for Krishna. What time is it? Am I way over? Hold on. 15 minutes. Prabhupada says, so our Krishna consciousness movement, this is Prabhupada, is simply to educate people that you are loving. You are mad after an appropriate lover who can love you also. Okay, this is so important. We have to read the books, even if you don't get it. Read Krishna's pastimes. These are mantras. These are secret passageways into your heart. This is Goloka Vrindavan in word form. Krishna is the Bhagavatam. Just accept it. Just go for it. Have faith in it. You might not feel it, but if you just read as if I've opened up, here's Krishna in the form of literature. Here's Krishna in his stories. This is Krishna, the most expert dancer. Can you imagine seeing Krishna for real? We see dancers on TV. We see dancers everywhere. Oh, what a wonderful. Can you imagine what Krishna looked like dancing on the hoods of Kaliya? Can you imagine what happens to a gopi who adores Krishna and seeks his attention? And there's that moment where Krishna is looking down and looks up and throws a sidelong glance to her. Can you imagine the arrow of Cupid? So maybe some of us, maybe all of us have times where we feel love from another, or we feel attraction. Krishna is the source of all attraction. He's the reservoir, the absolute attraction. We have to accept that he's the source. So if you're attracted to something, if you see, they were walking with Prabhupada on the beach, a beautiful, so I see the sunrise every morning because I have to go out and take care of the horses. And when I go to take care of the horses, the sunrise is right behind them in the fields. So it's coming right up over just as I'm going out every single day. It's so beautiful. The sun coming up and the orange underneath the clouds. Everyone should see it. You should grab your deities, get out of your apartments and your houses, take your deities with you, go to a park and watch a sunrise and chant Hare Krishna. And see the sunrise and see the beauty and see the miracle. And when you see that, imagine that 1,000,000 times over in Krishna's smile. Imagine the rays, the self-effulgence that comes from Krishna. Extrapolate the little tinge of attraction that you have in this world, because we're all attracted to this world. That's why we're here. That's why we're not pure, because we are diverted. Our heart, we have portions of our heart, but Krishna wants the whole thing. The left ventricle, the right ventricle, all the veins, all our blood, all our life force, our heart, mind, soul, and strength, Krishna wants. That's what Christ said. To love the Lord thy God with thy heart, mind, and strength. And here comes the big part. Patitanam, the most fallen. We have to have compassion for others. Prabhupada says, so our Krishna consciousness movement is simply to educate people that you are loving, you are mad after an appropriate lover who can love you also. But that you cannot find within this material world. 70% divorce rate, And I have to be honest with you. I heard a Indian devotee say the other day, "Oh, well, in India, we don't get divorced. And this, this is just American," stuff like that. And I've talked to many Indian Matajis. I have I joined a writing group of all religions, devotees and bhaktas and mystic writers and stuff. And we write things back and forth and stuff. And we share different literature. It's sort of an interfaith thing. And, to tell the truth, there's a lot of oppression, a lot of repression. Okay. And the society keeps, a lot of cultures from breaking apart. It doesn't mean that they should, but there's a lot of abuse. So there's that break. It might not be externally, but it isn't all love and roses, no matter what country you're in. So you cannot find real love. Real love is unconditional, it's unmotivated, and it's uninterrupted. You show me one lover and beloved in this world that's unmotivated. That is our Krishna consciousness. It is nothing superfluous. It is nothing concocted. Everyone can understand, I want to love somebody. There was a song in the 1960s, Jefferson Airplane. It was a big song in the 60s because it was so true. And it was right during Prabhupada's time. The lyrics were, don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. You better find somebody to love, because that is the essence of who we are. Our constitutional position is to love. Krishna is the source. We love because Krishna loved us first. We love. Now, how do we cope with the fact that, Krishna doesn't always reciprocate? Sometimes he pulls away. We love because we love the devotees. We love. We love Bhakti Roop is Radharani. We serve Radharani. We serve the servants of Radharani. We serve the servants of the servants of Radharani. This is the line of love. If the beloved isn't there, you serve the love. Okay, Krishna isn't always there. He's always there, but he doesn't always show himself. So if you're not seeing Krishna, then maintain a service attitude towards bhakti itself, bhakti roop, Radharani, service, love for the sake of love, without considering happiness or distress, heat or cold, victory or defeat. That's that steadiness of mind. And then Krishna sees your service, nishta. The supreme occupation, dharma. We all think of what we need to do. Anyways, I'll read Prabhupada. Only if you turn your loving spirit, what's what made Sat Chit Ananda is what we are actually made of. This is our substance. We are Sat Chit, all knowledge. We know, we actually have access to everything. Kalpavriksha trees, right? The reason we can get everything, we are in an ideal world. Our love is immediately manifest as an offering to Krishna. Whatever we want for Krishna is immediately ours to give to Krishna. That loving spirit, Ananda, the bliss. Sat Chit Ananda, Prabhupada said, is love. That we are made from this. This is our rupa. This is the substance. We're not made of flesh, this temporary thing, bones and flesh. The energy, the spiritual energy is Sat Chit Ananda. If you turn that Sat Chit Ananda, our loving spirit, to Krishna, then you will be fully satisfied. Suprasidasi. The supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service under the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted. This is the meaning of love. Pray for that when you chant. Let me always see you, Krishna. And then when you chant, please, Krishna, let me see you. That doesn't mean Krishna's going to be smiling around the corner and you're going to see his Tribhanga form. You're going to see him holding his flute. you're going to see Krishna in the actions of those around you. You're going to see in the fact that through the super soul, he's going to be leading us through higher and higher purity, which brings us to more humility. We are trying to get peace of mind, to have peace of mind, full satisfaction. That full satisfaction can only be achieved when you learn how to love Krishna. This is the secret. Otherwise, you cannot. Because if you want to love and get satisfaction, that is completed when you come to the platform of loving Krishna. So I end with Prabhupada's statement. That's the whole truth. And I'm going to stick to it. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So I streamed the class on YouTube, and there's a question from YouTube from Vimal Singh. So the question is, how do we remove fear from the choices we make? I am not fearful, but others don't get my courageousness. They say I'm making devotees uncomfortable. So can I continue to be fearless and show by example?
Okay, I didn't get all of that question, but how do I not fear when I make choices?
No, it's about how to make the devotees comfortable by fearlessness. I'll put the message in the chat, Pro.
Okay, so how to make other devotees fearless, or how to make oneself fearless?
Pro, I posted it in the chat. If you can look at the chat.
Okay, hold on. Chat. How do we move fear from the choices we make? I'm not fearful, but others don't get my courageousness. Oh, Nrsinga Dave. Others don't get it. They say I'm making devotees uncomfortable. So how can I continue to be fearless and show? That's sort of like love. Love is fearless. Love is courageous. You know, courage. I mean, think about it. Let's give an example in the material world. If your child, whom obviously, naturally speaking, you love, falls in a river, are you going to hesitate jumping in after that child, even if you don't know how to swim? Are you going to hesitate? You're not. You're going to jump right in. So courage is a sign of love. One shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed of being courageous, but one should have etiquette. You should try to have some empathy. Try to view yourself through others' eyes. Jumping up and down and screaming, Haribo, Haribo, is not what Krishna wants. Krishna doesn't want you to make a show. Because when you show what you feel inside, well, okay, so in the question it did say, question clarification. I am fearless, I think I am. But maybe it's my false ego. Right. Maybe, we never know. This is the trick of ahankara. It gets subtler and subtler. First, we avoid illicit sex, okay? You know, we stop looking at the opposite sex and stop contemplating the opposite sex and running through the whole scene, the adventure, okay, which we've been programmed time after time, lifetime after lifetime to do. We stop it up. We control our mind. Next thing you know, we're looking for profit, adoration, distinction, and fame. These are the subtle things of the ahankara. What about me? What about attention on me? You know, it can even happen, you know, you're a kirtaneer and you're thinking, you know, I hope I'm singing. I hope people can hear how wonderful I'm singing. Or, you know, you catch yourself, those thoughts. Like I said, to thine own self be true. This is what I can say to you. This is a quote from Shakespeare. I'm sure there's tons of Sanskrit, and I'm sure Prabhupada said, but this is basically it. You have to be sincere. That's what Prabhupada said. You have to be sincere. But I'll quote Shakespeare here. To thine own self be true. You say, that's why I'm perceiving myself to be fearless and overly and overt. So if you're perceiving yourself this way, then ask Krishna to reveal what it is about you that's making others uncomfortable. Okay? Step back from yourself. Observe yourself. To thine own self be true. And if you're true to yourself, if in your head is, I hope the other devotees, if you get this little thought, I wonder if the devotees are seeing how enthusiastic I am, even that one thought is the ahankara. Okay? So when you do something, I know the pastime, but the names, I'm old. The things are starting to leave my head, names especially. But it was a disciple that wanted a guru, and the guru wouldn't take any disciples. So the aspiring disciple, in secret, after the guru would go pass in the woods, he would go and clean with nobody seeing, would clean up. He would serve unbeknownst, the one of the toughest types of services. Clean. You want to do something, Prabhu, that shows how fearless you are? Go clean bath. I'm not just saying this to you. I'm saying this as a metaphor or a anecdote, an example. You want to show how fearless you are. When nobody's around in the middle of the night, go clean the bathrooms in the temple. If you're living in a temple, or if you got a home, go do something for your wife and children. They don't know you're doing. Do the dishes without being asked. Do them for the rest of your life, and chant Hare Krishna while you're doing the dishes. And never, and before anybody, your wife has to ask you to do something to help her, do it before she has to ask. That's fearlessness. You want to show Krishna, you want to show devotees that you are fearless and courageous, then serve them. Serve them in such a way that they don't even know they're being served. Because you know who's paying attention? You should serve in such a way with your right hand that your left hand doesn't even know that your right hand's serving. Okay? So do your service in secret. Okay? When you chant, don't make it obvious how deeply involved you are in your chanting. Chant enough for people to hear you. For you to hear yourself, and that's it. It's all like Prabhupada said, this is love. It's in the heart. You don't go advertising how much you love your wife. Any fool does not go around going, I love my wife. She's so beautiful. She's so wonderful. My kids are the best. Can you imagine what other people would think? I'm fearless about expressing my love for my family. I'm just going to tell the world. And what that usually shows is that somebody's got some growing up to do. And somebody actually is more in love with themselves. And we all, Prabhu, who asked this question, it's a great question. We all have this in us. If we're not pure devotees, we have what you're saying. The need to be seen, the need to be respected, the need to be adored, to be distinct, profit, adoration, distinction. I'm different. Anyways, that's the answer I've got. Whatever you do, whatever you serve, be courageous in secret. Any other questions?
Yes, bro. One more in the chat.
Yep. Lokanath Goswami, Indulekha. Thank you. There's a wonderful devotee right there. She did deity work. She was the queen. She's Indulekha. She's a gopi, a servant of the gopis. Indulekha Devi Dasi. She was a servant right on the altar for years and years and years. And she just keeps right on loving Krishna. Had to change services and had to go right on being who she is and loving Krishna. Krishna, that's Krishna at work. One would say, oh, what an atrocity. The beautiful service and years, and all of a sudden the shift. Like Krishna goes, because everything comes from Krishna. When a devotee or an authority comes to you and makes you feel miserable, he's just being a tool of Krishna. Krishna, not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's consent. I had a question about a line you mentioned, love with service versus love with Krishna. That Krishna might take away the service to test if we choose the service. But in the past time with Krishna, Mother Yashoda chose the service. Why do you think he got mad? Why do you think he got mad and started breaking all the pots? Because Krishna, right there's nothing more intimate than Krishna, baby at your breast. Any mother can tell you. That is the pinnacle, the apex of love in this world is a mother for her newborn infant, and the manifestation of that is nursing. That's Mother Bhumi. Every breath we take, all the food that we eat is Mother Bhumi nursing us as physical beings in this world. A mother nursing her child. That's the most intimate connection. And she ran to the milk. So she was already doing the most intimate service. And she put Krishna down and he got angry. Why did Krishna get angry? Because she chose, now this is a pastime, okay? But what does that pastime teach us? That when we are connected to Krishna intimately, chanting his name, let's say we are actually feeling, some connection to Krishna, we're chanting his name, and then something that we think is, more important comes up that might even be connected to the temple or something like that. And yet we are in a connection. We are in a relationship with Krishna. We are doing something, intimate with Krishna. And we, all of a sudden, our attention breaks from that. Well, that's sort of like if you're in the arms of a beloved and you are whispering sweet nothings, and then your eyes flit to this is in the material world, your eyes flit to the TV while, your lover and beloved are loving each other, and you're like, all of a sudden your mind's somewhere else. I'm not saying that's Yashoda, but this is the material reflection. Then the beloved is going to feel slighted. That's love. That's ras. Why do you think Radharani's man? Why do you think she's mad all the time? Because Krishna's Chala, he's loving everywhere. And Radharani, like at first, she has man. She gets very angry about that, but that makes the love even sweeter. Anybody who's ever had a relationship in this world and had a fight with their lover or their beloved, and then you make up, things are even sweeter than they are before. It's like you take a mango or something, it's a little bit unripe, and then you just squeeze it, you soften it, and it becomes sweeter. So that's love. So, Mother Yashoda was doing the highest form of service, nursing Krishna intimately. So that's why it's very important when we chant alone with Krishna, when we're doing japa, this is very intimate. This isn't just a sacrifice. This isn't just if you feel like you're rushing, don't even bother shooting for 16 rounds. If you have to, forget it. Just dedicate time. Time yourself to do 16 good rounds and then just dedicate the time. Forget counting. Could you imagine counting the amount of time that you spend with someone you love? I love you, but I've only got from here to here, and then I gotta go. I gotta do. My mind is elsewhere. No, even when you're not with the person you love, you're naturally thinking. A young boy, Prabhupada said, we should love Krishna like a young girl loves a young boy. You know how they fall in love. It's always on their mind. It's spontaneous. There's actually a little pitter patter in the heart. The Cupid's bow, the arrows that he releases, that first arrow in India, love Indian ras. Oh my God. I wish I could stop it. Am I off the thing? I'm off the movie, aren't I? I'm doing the thing. Okay. Anyways, I'm probably over time. 6:04. All right. So I don't want to go on, but just remember, when you're doing something intimate with Krishna, and there's nothing more intimate than japa, don't break away. ahoitaki aprita, uninterrupted, unmotivated, and do it with love. Any other questions, or we break off now?
The Aarti has already started, Prabhu. So,
Okay.
if you don't mind, we can go back to the temple.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.